Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Yeah, I finally got around to making this Stamsorc build video for you, and if you're not a fan of my introduction stuff, you know the drill. Timestamps, description, blah blah blah, okay. And hello once again to those that are still here. You seem to have caught me at a very interesting time. I am currently doing something very, very important, but I reckon I got time to talk. So I didn't get around to making this video because I simply can't stomach playing Stamsorc for very long. It's just not healthy for me. It's like bad for my mental health because just Stamsorc at the moment it's just a class at a time. It's just caught in a bad place right now. And I cover that in this video, and well, I'm not sure how much more of Stamsorc I will be playing for the next couple patches, unless something is changed about this class, and, you know, I do make some suggestions in the video, but, I'm just glad we have something that I can turn into some sort of montage for you guys, so, hopefully you guys really like it. Mind you, it's not going to be a very long or big montage, because, I didn't get too many impressive clips with it, but I got some. And here's the part of the video where I go and I do the regular begging for likes and subscribes, and yeah, if you like the video, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and click the bell thing that people say that you should click, because it helps out the channel, and I don't know why you wouldn't be subscribed. And my relationship with Stamsorc now, as of the making of this video, it's complicated. Don't get me wrong, I love Stamsorc, okay, loved, I loved the idea of being a magic man who doesn't use magic and instead stabs people. And with that, I guess we move on to the montage, or lagtage, because I have a lot of clips of this game just now. You know what, we'll combine both of them, we'll have you know what, you guys give it a name, that's your job now, okay? So, put it in the comments.
Well, I was shopping for a new car. Which one's me? A cool convertible or an SUV? Too bad I didn't know my credit was whack, cause now I'm driving off the lot in a used subcompact. F-R-E-E, that spells free. Creditreport.com, baby. Saw their ads on my TV. Thought about going but was too lazy. Now instead of looking fly and rolling fat, my legs are sticking to the vinyl and my posse's getting laughed at. F-R-E-E, that spells free. Creditreport.com, baby.
Offer applies with enrollment and trip advantage.
today, sometime. Rendering slash any day now. Where are you at? Wake up! Wake up! This is the kind of stuff that makes me just not want to play. Can I switch bars? Alright, for our attributes, we have no points into magic, we have 63 points into health, and we have 1 point into stamina, because this is the most effective tactical advantage, okay? And for those that care, here are the unbuffed stats at the front bar, here are the unbuffed stats at the back bar. Having buffed up a little bit here, this is the stats of the front bar. And these are the stats of the back bar, and do note that these numbers get way higher while in combat. On this character, I am a Khajiit. Khajiit would not be my first choice. I would go Orc as my first choice, and then if you're not an Orc, a Dark Elf would work too, but we're a Khajiit, and I'm not changing that. As a Khajiit, we have Robustness, giving us recoveries for all of our resources. We have Lunar Blessings, increasing the max stats of all of our resources, and Feline Ambush, increasing our critical damage and healing done, and making us a hide-and-seek pro, though we are a Sorc, so we don't do any hiding, but we do a lot of line of sighting. For our Mundus stone, I am currently using the Warrior. I've actually been switching back and forth between the Warrior and the Serpent. I can't really decide which one I like more. I think I'm starting to side more with the Warrior because of our burst potential with the Warrior, but it really depends on your situation. If you find that you're not able to sustain well enough your stamina, use the Serpent. If you need more burst and healing power, use the Warrior. For our consumables, we are using Lava Foot Soup and Salt Rice. This is what we consume to get more max stamina and some good stamina recovery. For our potions, we are using the Tri-Stat Potions, giving us all of our resources back when we use it, and recoveries for each of those resources as well. You can't really go wrong with these, and yeah, pretty good. And we are not using any weapon poisons on this build. Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. We're about to go over our gear, but before we do, I do advise you to sit through the entirety of this video because we need to understand why we're playing the way we're playing, and also why Stamsorc is the way Stamsorc is this patch. So, on our front bar, we are using a Plague Break Mace with a Shock enchantment, and it is Nirnhode. And if you don't know what Plague Break does by this point, you're living under a rock, and here you go. On our offhand, we are using another Plague Break Mace. This one has a Stamina enchantment on it, and it is charged. We have charged here so we can proc those status effects, and I'll explain that when we get to the combat section of this video. On the back bar, we have Vedastrand's Greatsword with a weapon damage enchantment. It is powered. We have powered here because Stamsorc really needs that extra healing. And also, if you don't know what Vedastrand does at this point, again, here you go. For our helmet, we are using the Helmet of Ashen Grip with a Stamina enchantment, and it is well fitted. This is our other set, and yes, it is Ashen Grip. It is coming back. If you don't know what it does, well, here you go. Whenever you hit somebody with a melee attack, you turn into a human flamethrower. For our chest, we are using the Curse of the Trainee with a Tri-Stat enchantment, and it is reinforced. It is reinforced because we need that extra defense. Don't deviate from that. And also, having one piece of Trainee gives us health, which is very powerful. And it's a Curus, so that means it's heavy. For our shoulder, we have the Arm Copse of the Ashen Grip with a Stamina enchantment, and it is well fitted. For our belt, we have a Sash of Ashen Grip with a Stamina enchantment, and it is well fitted. It is a sash, so that means it's light. The belt is light because it has the lowest armor value of any piece, and also we have one light on here to get access to the Undaunted passive, and that way we can dip into some of the light armor passives. For our hands, we are using Plague Break Bracers with a Tri-Stat enchantment, and those are impenetrable. For our legs, we are using Plague Break Guards with a Tri-Stat enchantment. Those are well fitted. And for our feet, we are using Plague Break Boots with a Tri-Stat enchantment, and they are impenetrable. For our necklace, we are using the Necklace of Ashen Grip with a weapon damage enchantment, and it is infused. For our first ring, we are using the Ring of Ashen Grip with a weapon damage enchantment, and it is infused. And for our second ring, we are using the Marken Ring of Majesty with a weapon damage enchantment, and it is swift. And if you have no idea what the Marking Ring of Majesty does, well, it gives us armor and damage, which is very much needed on a Sorc, not only for the healing, but for the defense that we don't get because it's a Sorc. Now, some people think it's important to be the fastest man in the world. I did try 2 Swift, putting Swift on the Ring of the Ashen Grip, but I did not like it as much as having more healing and damage as you get with an infused ring. So for those of you that don't have the Marking Ring of Majesty, Death Dealer's Feet would work in its place. That would be pretty good. You could also use the Wild Hunt Ring. That one's pretty good as well. You could also use the Torque of Tonal Consistency, even dropping the necklace and using that. Or you could use Malakath if you're not a cat and you're an orc or a dark elf, because that'll also help with your damage. But the best in slot would definitely be Markin. And if you don't have access to any of the mythic items or jewelry, you can just use a trainee ring in its place. And if you don't have access to the Vaitshren's Great Sword or any of the Vaitshren 2 hands, you can just replace that sword with a sword of the trainee, so you can have even more resources. Okay, on our front bar, our first skill is Whirling Blades. This is our execute. We use this when someone is low, or we've just used Dawnbreaker and we're trying to execute an entire stunned group of enemies. Next up on our bar, we have Camo Hunter. While this is slotted, we get Savagery, just for having it slotted, and also when we hit someone from behind, we get Minor Berserk for 5 seconds, increasing our damage done by 5%. This also scales with our proc sets. And also, while we have a Fighter's Guild ability slotted, we get more damage. Next up, we have Rendering Slashes. We have Rendering Slashes because the initial hit hits harder and also applies a snare to them, allowing us to burst even harder. And also, when we pair this with Crystal Weapon, we can burst enemies really quickly. Speaking of which, Crystal Weapon. This is our burst skill. And like I said, it pairs very well with Rendering Slashes, which I'll talk about in the comment section of this video, but Crystal Weapon, whenever we land a heavy attack or a light attack while this is active on our weapon, we reduce the target's armor by 1,000 and deal a bunch of damage to them. And next up we have Streak. This is our stun, and when we use this and we streak through somebody, we can stun them. Also, this can cover a great distance in a short amount of time, so it's great for getting out of situations you do not want to be in. And also, it's a sorcerer ability, so while it's slotted, we get some more damage. And for our front bar ultimate, we have Dawnbreaker of Smiting. We have Dawnbreaker of Smiting because it hits really hard and it can stun, and that can lead into a group wipe combo. And for all of the enemies that we do hit, they should be stunned, and they also get a really nasty dot placed on them as well, so it's a really powerful ultimate skill. You just get a bunch of damage passively by percentage on a Sorc. That is why they burst so hard. Next up, we have on our back bar, our first skill, Dark Deal. This is our sustain skill. We cast this and it restores stamina and health for the cost of magic and a little bit of extra stamina over time. Next up, we have Elude. We have Elude and not Shuffle because, just trust me, Elude is way better than Shuffle. I did try Shuffle. It doesn't work as good as you think it would work, especially this patch. We have Elude here because when we get hit by an AoE attack, we get Major Expedition for 5 seconds, so we can run really, really fast. And also, it reduces our damage taken from area attacks as well. Next up, we have Resolving Vigor. We have Resolving Vigor, of course, because it is a heal. And we're treating this heal like a buff. And what I mean by that is we have it up, or we should try and have this up at least 75% of the time we are in combat, because Stamsorc really needs that healing because it's got nothing else going for it. Next up, we have Rally, a very loaded skill, giving us Major Brutality, increasing our weapon damage by 20%, giving us Minor Endurance, increasing our stamina recovery, and also it is a burst heal and gives us access to the Vaitshren's proc. Next up, we have Hurricane. We have Hurricane as this is our armor buff, and it gives us Minor Expedition, so we can run that little bit faster. And our back bar ultimate, we have Summon Charge Entronarch. Well, why not run the other stuff? Well, you know, having an Entronarch on our back bar, well, since it is a Daedric summoning skill, gives us access to Daedric Protection, which will increase our stamina and health recovery by 20%, which is a considerable amount of recovery. Also, it doubles as a placeable wall. What I mean by that is you can literally put this boy down and then use him as line of sight if you're outnumbered. And it should go without saying, do get your passives, as many of them as you can, especially your class passives and your armor passives and your weapon passives. And at that point, I'll be going over all the passives. They are critically important to being a Stamsorc. Make sure you get your passives. Okay, for our champion points, in the role player tree, we have Master Gatherer, Gifted Rider, Plentiful Harvest, and Steed's Blessing. In the Sweaty Tree, we have Duelist Rebuff, Ironclad, Deadly Aim, and Master at Arms. In the Potato Tree, we have Celerity, Survival Instincts. Also for Survival Instincts, when you're filling out Mystic Tenacity, only put in 10 points so that way you can get more mileage out of your Survival Instincts. Sustained by Suffering, and Slippery. And be sure to fill out all your little golden stars as well, except Mystic Tenacity. Like I said, 10 points. Okay, so instead of breaking everything down into smaller chapters like that, I'm just going to combine it all into one segment called Combat Stuff. So, first let's go over the rotation. So, pretty self-explanatory like you normally would. Of course, you buff up before you're about to attack your target. When you're ready, you see an opening, you're going to close the distance. And the combat rotation is as follows. Crystal Weapon, Heavy Attack, fully charged. That lands, and immediately after that lands, you want to use Rendering Slashes. And that is our burst combo. That burst combo alone will take most players down to half their health, and maybe even 25% if they're wearing light armor. But you just repeat that until your target is low enough to just use your Execute, which is Whirling Blades. And then, when your target is finally low enough, you just spin and you win. Now quickly, let's talk about the charge trait and why we are using the charge trait on our offhand. Okay, so you see our target mans right here? Watch what happens when we open our combo on him. Yeah, I can guarantee you that that is much more damage and pressure than Sharpened on your offhand will ever give you. Okay, that is why we use Charged on our offhand. So when it comes to groups and wiping them out, actually we need to stack them. Give me a second. Okay, so when it comes to clearing groups of enemies or players that are stacked on top of each other, the combo is really simple. It's literally about the same thing as a single target combo, but with one extra step added in. And it is as simple as Crystal Weapon, Heavy Attack, and then Dawnbreaker right after that heavy attack lands. And then you just spin, and you keep spinning until they die. One of them needs to die, and then Plague Break will go off, and the rest of them will die. Unless, of course, there's a healer, and then they all get healed, and then they just walk away, and then you have to streak away, and then you don't get any kills, and then you get sad, and you get angry, and you don't want to play Stamsorc anymore. Alright, real quickly, we're going to go over a defensive rotation for this build. Sorcs don't actually have an actual defensive rotation other than their healing and, keeping distance from their opponent, so that's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to keep on healing. Dark Deal, when you're in a safe spot, you don't want to cast it in front of somebody because a smart player will interrupt you and then you'll be stunned and then you'll lag and then you'll die. And also making sure your buffs are up at all times, keeping distance with your opponent. Say there's an idiot right here where I'm standing. You're just not ready to do your combo yet. You just make space, okay? Then another thing you can do is if you need it, it's your call. You're the one making this choice. But if you need it, you have an Internarch on the back bar, right? And well, this buddy's kind of good, okay? He's kind of good. So you can actually stand inside of him, and then players will attack him and not you if they're using single target attacks. But you can also kite around him. Kite as in, line of sight. So, like, there's a bad guy right here. You're right here. He's got to go through the Internarch, hit him, or cast a skill and hit the Internarch to get to you. Or just walk around him, but you're going to be moving around him too. So, you can also put him in a corridor and then just, like, roll dodge back and through. Like, so, say there's a corridor of some kind or a long hallway, right? And you got a couple people chasing you, about 4 or 5, right? What you're gonna do is you're gonna toss this big guy down. You gotta roll dodge through him. You're gonna go like this, and then they're gonna come through, and then you're gonna go back through like this, and then they're gonna follow you again. You're just gonna keep repeating, and then you're gonna do it again. And the whole time you're casting your heals and you're buffing up and you're getting your resources back. You're getting dark deals when you get to a safe spot behind these walls. And then when you're finally ready, you wait for them to come around that corridor, and then you meet them in the corridor, and then you just bam, 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 and then boom, bop, and they're dead. Just like that. In theory, okay. In theory. In practice, it don't work because healers exist, okay? So let's talk about Stamsorc this patch and why is it so squishy. Stamsorc has plenty damage, okay? Stamsorc has really good burst. a lot of damage and a lot of stacking of damage due to its percentage values that you get with Energized, Amplitude, Expert Mage, combined with our Fighter's Guild passive, Slayer. So as you can see, that allows our weapon damage to get up pretty high. As it sits right now, Stamsorc's healing is the only thing it's got going for it. The Sorc as a class doesn't have anything built in to give it defense. The closest thing it's got is about Expert Summoner, which increases your max health, but you can only get so far if you stack a bunch of health. You really need that mitigation through Resolve, and just damage mitigation like percentage numbers like the Necromancer has. The other thing you have to keep yourself alive is Blood Magic. This is halved in PvP, of course, with the Battle Spirit passive, but it's still something, but it's just not enough. So, as you can see, we look for little green numbers. You can see this will heal us. Again, that's halved in PvP. Basically, it all comes down to Stamsorc's mitigation. They don't have anything built into their class. The best thing we got for Sorc is our champion points. This is why we're using 2 defensive CPs, because we definitely need the defense on Sorc. And even then, that's not enough because they don't have anything built in. You have to rely on your healing for this build, which is why we are using Powered. Sure, defending would give you more, like, just mitigation in general, but with our speed, we should be behind a wall, and healing just becomes much more important at that point when your mitigation is already so low, and then stacking more of it's not going to make much of a difference. We're really focused on trying to keep our heals very powerful on this build. All of the Sorc's heals are very bursty, okay? Dark Deal, that's a burst heal. That's 18k when it expires. That's a burst heal. All of that healing comes to you at once. And the only thing you have that's healing over time is Vigor, okay? But that's fairly bursty in and of itself because it's only 4 seconds. When there's more and more dots stacked on top of you, Vigor can only do so much, and at that point you have to start spamming your burst heals. Like, your speed and healing is what keeps you alive on a Sorc. With all the dots going around, your speed can't do anything to dots because you can still break line of sight with somebody, but those dots will still be ticking away at your health. If you really want to play Stamsorc for some reason, the best option you got to do, I'm not going to tell you which one to drop, but pick your poison, okay? You can either drop Plague Break or Ashen Grip for Daedric Trickery. Only make that change if you're getting really fed up with being under so much pressure and dying a bunch on Stamsorc. Another thing that could be done, and this will be on Zosa's part, is changing this rebate passive here. This passive is right next to completely useless because it gives literally nothing in return. And the only ability that can really use this passive effectively would be Hardened Ward, which is the damage shield, but on a Stamsorc you're not going to be using a damage shield. A change I would propose for this passive is every time you light attack, you remove 1 negative effect from yourself, and every time you heavy attack, you remove 2 negative effects from yourself. At level 1, the cooldown for this would be like 6 seconds, and then at level 2, the cooldown would be 4 seconds. And for all you role players out there, I even thought of a good name for it, okay? If you even really care about the name of the passive. Call it Daedric Consumption, and then like the passive tooltip reads, transfer negative effects from yourself to the Plains of Oblivion or something. And I know that change to this passive seems oddly specific, and well, that's pretty much exactly what the Stamsorc needs, is a purge of some kind so that way they can survive. You know, just memeing around here because why not? Change the passive name to Redistribution, and then instead of actually removing the negative effect from yourself, you transfer the negative effect to the enemy that you hit. But just give Stamsorc some sort of purge, okay? Please. I don't know what they do to, like, make people, you know, post stuff at Zos, but give Stamsorc a purge. Because if not, then Stamsorc will be a dead playstyle next patch because of the new monster set that's coming out. Like, there's whatever, I don't care. It makes you have a chalice for a head. So this part of the video is me just clearing some things up because I tend to spend a lot of time talking to you guys in the comments about things I somehow didn't make clear in my videos, so we're going to try and clear some things up. So yes, I did take into account the hybridization that will apply to the Stamsorc next patch, and the only thing that the hybridization is going to be granting the Stamsorc is its ability to play at range a little bit better, and also the fact that you could probably run a restoration staff on the back bar and get away with it. With a restoration staff, your healing might just be that little bit much better, but probably not a lot, and what are you giving up just so you can run a restoration staff on the back bar? And also, Sorcerer as a class doesn't have many skills that would work very well as hybrid skills. More so would be the stamina morphs of skills that would really help out a Mag Sorc, but You can't say the same for Stamsorc. Like, sure, people are like, oh, but you can use damage shields and hybridized damage shields and all that. But you have to cost magic for one, and second, at that point, you might as well just play a Magsorc, okay? And then the next thing is, well, I don't have these issues with my Stamsorc. I'm able to survive just fine. Oh, I'm happy for you, okay? Your situation is vastly different than mine, and I'm genuinely happy for you that you can enjoy Stamsorc and not have any issues with it. So please enjoy this build if you plan on using it. And the last thing is, I'm not telling you how to play Sorc. I'm not telling you that you should run this and run that and this. I'm showing you what I'm using on my build and why I'm using it on my build and for what reason. So take what you will from this video, and hopefully it'll help you put together a build of your own. If you want to take this build piece by piece and put it together yourself, that's completely fine. But I hope this video helps you figure out your Stamsorc build for this patch. Okay, so that should about do it for the Stamsorc build video. I really do hope you enjoyed the video. I don't know if you'll enjoy playing Stamsorc, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Alright, so before I forget, the approachability rating, right, so I give this build, okay, a 2 out of 5 stars, the lowest so far on my channel. Simply because it's a Stamsorc in the Deadlands DLC, and the only reason it has that 2nd star is because the gear is easy to get, and it bursts really hard. So yeah, there you go. And if you made it this far and you're still watching, you're legitimately a legend. And if you decide that you want to put this build together and try it out for yourself on the live server, I do urge you to come back to the comments of this video and tell me about your experience, because I'm curious to know how it went. And I don't know if I should apologize for the length of this video, but this edit took 3 days to do, so hopefully it's worth the long watch if you watched it all the way here. And having said all that, I don't have nothing else to say right now. If I do, it's in the description. And good night.